Hi everyone. Thank you so much for being here for my presentation. My name is Selina Lee, and I study media science at the College of Communications. The name of my presentation or my keystone is called "The Body is a Book of Stories: A Visual Exploration of My Asian American Identity." And over the course of my keystone, I was really grateful and honored to have James Grady from CFA guiding me and supporting me throughout my keystone. So just to give a little bit of an overview, I'm going to talk a little bit about my background and inspiration behind my keystone, and then go into the keystone description. And I also intentionally allocated time for you all to actually explore my keystone because it is a very visual piece. And I also would like to invite you all to reflect on your thoughts and how you interacted with my keystone. So to give a little bit of background about me, I was born and raised in Boston. I grew up in an immigrant Chinese family, and I attended an all-girls private high school that was predominantly white and wealthy. I always felt kind of out of place, especially in high school. I felt disconnected from my identity as an Asian American woman. And in general, I felt kind of insecure and just kind of felt weighed down by my family's expectations. Being first gen, there's a lot of expectations for me to succeed and excel in my academics, and I kind of internalized to keep quiet and follow the rules and just behave. So when thinking about my keystone, I drew a lot of inspiration from a book called Minor Feelings by Kathy Park Hong. Minor Feelings is a memoir of a Korean American woman who recounts her own experience as an Asian American and the contradictions, conflict, and invisibility that comes from being an Asian person living in America. Here are some key quotations that I drew from the book. I felt that Hong was able to accurately convey some of the same feelings that I personally felt about being an Asian American, how as model minorities we are next in line to disappear, and how Asian American women in particular experience objectification and sexualization. I really admire that she was able to write this book of memoirs unfiltered and placing her own personal experience in context of underlying systemic issues, including white supremacy, xenophobia, and racism. And my keystone aims to answer these two questions drawn from the book. 1, what does it mean to be an Asian American woman? And 2, how can Asian women reclaim their power? I wanted my keystone, like Hong, to be creative, authentic, and also function as a memoir of sorts. So the subject of my keystone are the cells, flesh, bones, and nerves that make up my lovely body. So my keystone consists of 2 parts. The first part is the physical posters. I designed 14 physical posters with QR codes, and each poster represents a different body part. You can scan the QR code to unlock the second half of the keystone, which is the part 2, which is the digital experience. Each QR code will take you to a certain web page that corresponds to the body part, complete with my personal memories and visuals. And so here's my visual inspiration behind my keystone. So I drew from 2 types, modern and contemporary, and traditional Chinese graphic design elements. With modern and contemporary, I really like the use of white space, typography as a visual element, and use of minimalism. And using elements from traditional Chinese graphic design, the bold characters, the intentional layout, and the balance between visuals and text. So I want you all now to actually take a look at my keystone. So I have all the posters on the wall to the side, and I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. So yes, please take the time to go and take a look.
I'm so sorry.
Very good, you're so good, bro.
You're great.
Thanks. Yeah, you can also use it, yeah. 1 minute left. Okay, so since I see everyone sitting down now, I want to take the time to ask you all 2 questions. I know these are kind of personal questions, so feel free to share as much as you want, answer one or both. But when was the last time you felt most present with your body? And 2, what is a prominent memory you had with a specific body part? Anyone? Sir.
The last time I felt most present in my body was yesterday when I fell down because I felt a lot of pain. And I do remember my knee hurting a lot.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like pain is an experience that you feel where you kind of feel very connected with your body and how like fragile it is.
Do I just talk?
Yeah.
I would say last time I felt most present with my body was earlier today when I was cooking. Cause yeah, I make sure because I like kind of just zone out a lot. So I was holding a big knife and I was like, I should probably be present here with my body right now. Yeah, I was just making soup.
I love that. Yeah, like a lot of times like you don't really know when you're conscious of your body until like something forces you into it, like cooking and needing to be present so that you don't prevent a fire from happening.
One very prominent and repetitive memory I have is or experience, I guess, with my body is shaving. It's a very like visible symbol of masculinity, having a beard, having facial hair. And there are times when I appreciate that, and there are times when I really despise it, and I despise the proximity of it to my face. And every time I shave, it's kind of treading that line of how do I feel comfortable with my body, with my face, and how do I feel comfortable expressing myself, my gender, and other identities.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing. Oh, sorry.
The last question. So I grew up in a place where I was one of the very few white people who lived there, and I have really prominent blue eyes. And so my most prominent body part memory is when I was a kid, I'd walk around the grocery store like with my parents, and these old ladies would come walk up to me and touch my forehead to take away the curse they had put on me.
Oh, wow.
And this happened all the time, like at least a dozen times in my youth. And so it was all because I had these blue eyes that was different than everyone else that I lived near.
I have a follow-up question. How did that make you feel growing up?
Like special, actually. Like I thought, as a 7-year-old or whatever, I thought it was really cool. Looking back, it was kind of weird, I guess.
Anyone else? Thank you all so much for sharing your personal experience with your own body. No, it's really personal. But yeah, this is all I really had for my presentation. I just wanted to get a chance to hear your thoughts on your bodies. I think a lot of times it can be a personal thing, but also it's interesting seeing like how we interact with our bodies, our different body parts, what stories and memories and feelings that can be invoked and that can be internalized until you let it out. And I think over the course of my Keystone and creating it and writing all the memoirs and designing it was actually really difficult for me because there are all these repressed memories and feelings that I brought up once I started to create it. So so it just really means a lot that you are here to kind of engage with your own bodies with me too. Thank you so much. Any questions?
So 14, I didn't get to see them all. How did you choose those?
I think there were some body parts that it was a lot easier for me to come up with than others, like eyes, nose, and mouth. I think those are associated with like like senses and feelings. I think the other ones like my name or soul or anxiety, those are things that are part of me, but they're intangible. So I think that it was interesting reflecting on both like the intangible and tangible parts of me. And I think that it was necessary for me to do that as well because I carry those with me every single day.
Again, not able to see everything, but from here it looks like they're external and internal, right, as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, no, that's
Definitely.
that's cool.
anyone else?
This is a pretty special project. I guess you already kind of alluded to this, but the fact that it's so personal, like what ultimately made you decide like you were willing to share this? And thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, I actually had a completely different idea for my Keystone going, but I actually studied abroad in London, so I was forced to alter it in a way that was more like independent and gave me more freedom. But there is this book that I've been reading a lot of self-help books lately, and there's this one book, I forgot what the name of it is called, but it's about like how we carry trauma in our bodies, and I think there's a lot of quotes that stuck out to me, but one of the most like resonating quotes that stuck out was that souls can't touch, but your body can. And I think for me that was just, I don't know, I really wanted to explore the idea of what it means to be perceived and have a body, and how like our internal selves can be reflected outwards. Yeah.
One more question?
Thank you for the project. It's super like reflective, and like I share a similar family background, so thank you. But also, I know that a lot of the writings that you had on your website were really family oriented. So, and being an Asian American, I know that sometimes like the dialogue between you and your family about identity isn't always the most like open. But did this project kind of like open any sort of dialogue with them, or like how did that? Or did you like derive any inspiration from like your conversations?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and thank you for like resonating with my with my presentation. I think that is that part of my life. I think my family, and I think being Asian American and being from family immigrants you can have a very difficult relationship with your family. So I think that part I'm still grappling with. I didn't even tell my mom that I'm giving like what my Keystone is about, because I think I can't predict like what she would respond, like how she would respond. But I think that's given me a different like lens and has made me more reflective on how much my family has impacted my personal experience. And yeah, it's really intertwined, even though like it's something so personal, but family definitely has affected like the way that I have created this Keystone. Thank you so much.